The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
Back and well, I tried to be live, but the internet again is messing up. Now this has been working flawlessly for many weeks. It works flawlessly all the time. Granted, I don't use it much during the week, and I was working on everything today, working just fine, and I got to go live, and bam. So now should I get paranoid? I can understand why a lot of the people who do these YouTubes do them don't do them live and upload them. I mean, my internet is over 12 megabytes per second upload, which is, what, 3 times more than needed? 4 times maybe. But anyway, I'll go with it from here, and we'll go. People listening on the radio are still there. The live radio is working, going out, but hold on. Major sneeze there I didn't want to share with you. So let's get into the show, the broadcast for today. Let me set up my deal here. There we go. Start off with the YouTube feed. Okay. Let's see. Now my website was down. Talk about a day. The website was screwed up. I got it up and running. My brother got it up and running, and then I fooled around with it a little bit before airtime. And so it's working, but this show is not up there yet, but it's up to working. Now, here's a blog I put up there. I got an email. A guy named Peter sends, he just doesn't do Facebook and whatnot. And he sent me a link to a blog. This is an individual in Utica, I think it is, in New York, where the town is basically turning into, it is Islam. I mean, it's because of the refugees, the whole town is changing. And he is reading a blog about that, and it's important because of the forcing. And with Trump in office, they were going to cut back on this stuff, and since the courts have held them up, they have they're just pouring in. So from the other countries, and it's just it's not fair to flush out the culture of an indigenous. I guess maybe this is the Native Americans' revenge for earlier in the last century. On the same vein, we have a new video put out by Stefan Moyer. I really like him. He does a lot of good work, and I'd highly recommend people check in with that. You go into his YouTube channel, you can subscribe or what have you, and be up to date on it. Good stuff that I wish I could do, both time and just simply education that he has to put all this together. So this is something I would really recommend you doing, and it was a great interview with Tommy Robinson, who is a crusader in England, to help with the unfairness that's going on, frankly. If you watch this video, you'll see that the refugees are actually getting different treatment legally than the people who live there. And it's not because the people are there out trying to get them, some kind of a Islamophobia. That's all a bunch of malarkey. So it, of course it is, I put my little comment there, it is part of a plan simply to using weaponized humans to destroy the infrastructure, both economically and for the radical Islamic terrorists who do come in. It also destroys people's lives, buildings, and also quality of life. So that's very important. I want to mention this article, too, from Zero Hedge. There's an article saying the U.S. is weeks away from recession, according to latest loan data. And if you look at the peaks and valleys, the crashes and mini crashes and big crashes that have happened, it doesn't mean, you're not measuring the crash and going, oh, we're due one or nothing. It's the loan information. But why I brought this up was to point to a show we did last week with Lionel Parkinson, who talks about how, a lot of people don't have a lot of money to buy, to be able to protect their money. Some people have bought gold, silver, and that will to some degree, but he's come up with a clever way just to take a few bucks. Since this show, the actual funds we're talking about have went down a couple of dollars, so it's even cheaper because it's based on shorting the various markets, banks, real estate, and whatnot, where if you're betting on it going down. Now, I'm not advocating trying to make money on a crash system, but if you're trying to insure yourself just for a few bucks, like something like $17 a share, which in the last crash, if you look up in this area here, the last crash, which was in 2008 or so to 9, in that time, these funds were up as much as 100,000, some of them 30,000, and now the shares are 17, 18, $13. So for a few bucks, it's an insurance policy. I'd recommend you listening to the show. I got the links there. Of course, you can always find it on the website, Feet to the Fire Radio, and you can find it on the YouTube channel, which the links are on Feet to the Fire Radio. That's very important. And here's something I read about. Apparently, Bernie Sanders, when he was interviewing one of the candidates for Trump, let me switch to the main window for this. When he was interviewing Russell Vought for a president's nomination for a White House budget director, Bernie Sanders, in declaring his intention to vote against Russell because of his evangelical Christian faith, which, if you look at the article, was it 5 of the Constitution, it prevents anybody from, I think I have it here, Article 6 of the Constitution provides that no religious test shall be required or qualification in any office of public trust under the United States. And so some of these people are standing up and demanding an apology or resignation. Now, I wouldn't hold my breath about his resignation. I probably wouldn't hold my breath for an apology, but it's a good point when you're talking about actually people, whether it be legally or trying to get you to follow this or honor Sharia law, which is extremely restrictive, to come around and disqualify somebody for being a evangelical Christian is just ridiculous. Speaking of that, this is a site. The site is called, let me just go to it. What is the site? The Religion of Peace. And what they do is they have an update, a tally for Ramadan. I'm not seeing the website. I wonder now. Of course, I'm having trouble with internet. It barely works. So, Ramadan Bombathon 2017, day 16, 90 attacks, 1,076 killed. All other religions combined, 0. Muslims killed by, quote, Islamophobes, 0. Attacks or killed, either. So that's something to really kind of take note of. This is the reality stuff we're talking about when we talk about reality versus some kind of political malarkey. Something he caught of. I put this up there. Rob Davenport, he is the man behind FreeCheckTV.tv. He was Conspiracy Theory Channel, and he got grief for the name. It wasn't, I'm going to cut off kids' heads channel. And so they're reorganizing. We're going to FreeCheck TV. So it's FreeCheck.com.tv. Repackaged. He does great work. He's really talented. And he's put up a movie documentary, How the USSR Brainwashed the Nation. It's something I haven't watched it yet. I'm putting it up here based on my knowledge of Rob Davin. He is a good guy, good stuff. And I will be watching it, but it shows how they brainwash. And I'm gonna forecast that if you listen to this, you're going to be able to look into what's going on in our country today and be able to find the blueprint right there. I like this. Breitbart did an interview, or it's Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson. Oh my Lord. Made some comments, and it made the Breitbart.com news. And I'm just going to, I'll just read this. Here's what is true. As of 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, Donald Trump is still the president of the United States, and that means that the most basic level Comey testimony failed to achieve its goal. Make no mistake, removing Trump from office was the goal. There was collusion. Russia hacked our election, assault our democracy, imperils our way of life. You hear those all the time. You hear them on every night on this show, but nobody in D.C. actually believes any of that, and that's why nobody ever explains how it actually happened or what specifically the effects are, because they have no idea, and in fact, they don't really care. They just want Trump gone, along with anyone who is in his way. Russia is just a means. So there's another article to go through on there, and that's so true. That's true. Jack Persobic, apparently, Persobic, I should say, he is apparently getting New York Times ire because they're calling him out specifically as one of these all-right guys, which obviously means you're doing something. It's like when Hillary Clinton called out Alex Jones. And on this particular Twitter, let's see how this lines up. Let's go to the full screen here. Nice little tweet here. This is General David Petraeus. He was tried and convicted for leaking personal memos. He lost his security clearance, was fined $100,000, and given 2 years probation. The lead investigator on his case was James Comey, who leaked personal memos. He admitted it under oath that he leaked personal memos, and they're trying to find the memos. And I saw a report. This is not confirmed. That said that Comey erased the memos. Somebody may just be saying this, but erased the memos, and they can't find that college professor guy he gave them to leak to the media. All right. You can't find him. He's in hiding now. Again, that's not sure, but he's a guy you should follow. Persobic. He's doing some pretty good work there. All right, okay. Thought I erased something here. Let me go back to my Facebook screen image. This is another documentary I've not actually watched yet. It caught my interest. Men's rights film banned in Australia, produced by a woman. It's called The Red Pill. I'll put all these links, as I always do. How do I do this? On the bottom. When I'm done here. So, this is another funny thing. I find these in my feed from all the people who hook up to me on Facebook. If you want to do that, you can search for me, James Arthur Jancic, and it'll come up. The actual page, I believe, is james.a.jancic. It was a long time ago when I started it. I guess I could change it now, but I don't know what that would do with people. But I get this information from the people and I pass it along. My actual feed, nothing gets on my Facebook feed unless I put it there. I just don't have it automatically done because I get a lot of stuff that's irrelevant. So this one, James Comey can read Donald Trump's mind and find his intent. Remember, he said in his testimony that he thought that he meant that he was supposed to deep six this investigation. However, he couldn't find intent when Hillary trashed 33,000 emails and destroyed her phone with a hammer. This is the lunacy. I'm going to get into it in my main little talk at the end. This is the lunacy we're at now in this. I'm not going to go through the whole Comey stuff because you've probably heard it 100 times from all these other people. I'll just throw some bottom line stuff here. This is another great Facebook post that I had passed along did my work for me. Didn't have to go through and write it. Trump, number one, Trump was never under investigation. That has now come out under oath. Trump did not obstruct justice. Trump did not collude with Russia. Russia did not alter the election outcome. Comey leaked his own memo. Loretta Lynch pressured Comey to cover for Hillary Clinton. There was ample evidence to put Hillary in jail, but Comey chose not to pursue it. CNN and other fake news outlets have been lying, making things up the entire time. The Democratic Party is no longer has the ability to scream Russia every time Trump tries to do something because there's nothing to it. The Russia story is dead. Any Democrats who continue to push it will look foolish and insane to the American people. Insane being the word, and we're going to get to later. So that is good. This, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to go through it. Links will be there. But BBC was having eyewitness accounts from the attack on London Tower, and they removed the word, the name Allah from the interview, and you can see the actual footage, and then you can see the BBC footage edited into that out. It's very important. Now, I'm going to skip back and forth going to Trump and Comey and this and other things because I don't want to go back and forth. I was watching this, and it's going up and down on my Facebook. I'd be dizzy if I were you guys, so I'm just going to go along here for the news before I get to my comments. And we do have less visible that I will watch with you. I queued it up, but I haven't watched it. This is from NoTrickZone.com. I'm not sure about the website. I put it here because I went and looked, and there's some other people are talking about this, so I put it up here. The stuff I put up there, I guess I could comment on it. It's there for people to check out. I'm thinking it's worth looking at. If you're following me on here for my opinion on stuff, when I put it up there, it's worth looking at. Some of the stuff will be a proof. Other things will be something to look at. This has, on this particular website, 80 graphs from 58 new, it's 2017 papers invalidating claims of unprecedented global scale modern warming. Maybe I can go to this site and click the full graphics here. I want to see if it goes down because it has the various graphs. And as you go through this, you'll notice at the end where we are, it's the current scenario. You can see at other times we'd have these events throughout history according to I believe these things are going into ice flows and so on. You have to look into detail. This is not a blanket saying, yeah, these are all correct, but the article is saying this, and you can look at it in details. The northern hemisphere temperatures, here you have this, you could see, yes, it's up. And you could see this cooling that came down, which the data was fake to try and hide that. It was a big controversy that this little glitch, as they called it, they were trying to compensate for that. But you could see at other times it was higher, and we didn't disappear. And you can go down and check various graphs where they came from, what the data is behind them, and so on. So I wanted to make that available for people who are looking into these things to see opposing views. And not just in a political sense. This is very important. The utter complete failure, fraud of wind power. Now, I like solar power. I like wind power. I like the idea of taking the sun. I mean, look at plants. The whole world is driven on solar power, weather, plants, and then animals eat the plants. Oh, I like solar power. I like wind power. I like the idea. I like the geothermal. I like the tides. Any way of using the system and kind of like riding it. I like it. It's great. Problem is, one, the people doing the solar power and the wind power are not doing it to help save the world. That's all the marketing baloney. It costs a fortune to do this stuff. You have the government giving subsidies to the makers. You have subsidies to the sellers. You buy it. I mean, I should say you buy it. You get a subsidy when you buy it. You get a subsidy when it's made. You get a subsidy when you buy it. When you're using it, you sell your power back to the company, the power company, who then has to eat it, may or may not get subsidies from the government on it, make it probably a tax deal. Now, the thing is, this is the important part, that if you get one thing about any of this, is that the solar and the wind is not consistent. All right, I understand it, no problem. If somebody has a house off the grid, they have solar panels, both the electrical photovoltaic cells, they have the infrared collectors for water. They will have a wind turbine, windmill. And what they do is they hook up to an actual real power company. Now, if they do it right, and they have the solar windows, where you got these large windows, the sun comes in, it heats the bricks in the floor, comes out, you have a fireplace in the house. When you do it all right, you can run it pretty much without having to use the electricity from the power company. A lot of banks won't give you a loan without having that power installed. Plus, you can actually sell it back to the power company. But that is a house built in an area where you can do it, and specifically for it. And that's fine. In general, what happens, though, is the people who build these big solar turbines, what they're doing, their sole money source is selling this power back to the local power grid. That's how they make money. They get the subsidies from the government, sell it back to the local power grid. Why is that significant? Because the local power grid still has to make the power available if needed. Example, nuclear power. Nuclear power, all it does is heat water to make steam. Steam turns the turbines. I mean, that's how they do it. You can't turn off the nuclear power because it's sunny out, because it takes a hell of a long time to get started. It takes a long time to shut it down. Then they got to go through all these routines. That's why whenever there's a problem, they shut the plant down. It's down for months. So the same goes with if you're going to use coal to start up the burners, to boil the water to start the turbines, because the sun can go in and out, the wind can stop here and there. You have to have that available. So these turbines are running, we'll call it an idle. I mean, they're not. They're always generating power because people need it. But just for the other example, they're running an idle just in case the sun goes cloudy and the wind stops. They got to have that power because all these people are going to be drawn from it. And what happened in Europe is people went to a more dramatic, direct source in solar and wind, and they were having brownouts because they would have several bad days, and they don't have the backup of the nuclear or the coal or the natural gas-fired plants. And what they do around, I'm in Chicagoland area in the Midwest, what they'll do is they have what they call peaker plants, which in the summer, when it gets real hot, it uses a lot of juice. They'll start hitting capacity on the normal, everyday running plants, and they'll fire up these peakers, which will use natural gas, which will to raise the temperature and start to steam to do the generators. And it's expensive. And of course, they know it. So they sit here around and wait, don't generate power. They kind of wait till there's a hot day, and they turn it up, and then they jam the power companies too, just like the people who are selling back the wind. So the point is that it's subsidized to build it, subsidized to buy it, it's subsidized to run it, either by the power plants to you or whatever. It's not real. Now, if you're living off in a rural area and you have all these together, that would be real. But again, you got to be able to afford all of that. So the people who have those things are doing it because they want to, and they have the money to be able to put the costs up front. Though, they are getting better in terms of design in the houses. That's the important thing to learn. That's why you have these places that are going out of business. These things are expensive. They wear out. It's a problem. It's not that I don't want solar and I don't want. It's not they're doing it. They're not even doing it idealistically and not doing well. They're doing it just to take advantages of what I just said. So they're screwing it. Going back to Trump again, I guess. Here's CNN, the fake news, clown news network, whatever you want to call it. Sources tell CNN Comey to testify he never told Trump he was not under investigation. Same place. This is not photoshopped. Same place, same different time in the day. Comey told Trump he was not under investigation. So when they start talking about things, you go like, this is Tommy Robinson. This is the guy I talked about earlier, talking to Stefan Molyneux. He confronts the mosques. It was a church. It's now a mosque, and in Manchester, and he actually edits in the footage of Islamic leaders saying specifically, "Death for homosexuals. Women are, second class, or and the various type things." Specifically, they're saying it. I mean, if I was to make a video and say something about killing people, if I was talking about killing homosexuals and say it's because the Bible says so, holy cow, big deal. It's okay here. And it's because there's a simple reason for it. Why is it? Why don't they understand? How can? Simple reason. They're using humanity as a weapon. They're using Islam and the radicalized Islam, as well as sheer bulk numbers of refugees, to overload the economic system and to come in and break the local culture, break the local systems, because they want to break the West into making a third world country. That is the goal, period. All logic, all reason points to that, and all the other emotional baloney around it is just ways to beat you down. Good point here, Robert Kennedy Jr. The CDC is not an independent agency. It's a vaccine company. The CDC owns 20 vaccines patents, and it sells about $4.6 billion a year of vaccines. You have to remember conflict of interest in these things. Oh, yeah. Well, here, Antifa attack foiled. Here's, let me go back to my bigger picture here. People were on the rooftops with all these things that they were going to throw down on people from the rooftops and Antifa. Now, this is a great picture. These are all on the rooftops. They're going to throw down on the people who were going to be marching for pro-Trump or what have you. They were going to be throwing this down, and look at the sign. If you could see this. No platform for hate, as they throw bricks down. Hello? The people who are doing this have drank the Kool-Aid out of them, but in most cases, they're basically, they like to, throw bricks at people. There's a GoFundMe that was put together by Seth Rich's brother, Aaron Rich, to help the investigation. There's also a website, you should put this down, Seth Rich, one word, .info. Put down. Mayor of London is more concerned with keeping President Trump out of the United Kingdom than known terrorists, as in a little tweet by Stefan Molyneux. Very good. Now, I put this together here. One American News Network, I've been just walking around just saying you got to check them out if you want to have a serious news network. These guys are the real deal. They put up $100,000 for more information about Seth Rich. They themselves have a complete breakdown, 3-part special report on the facts about Seth Rich, the information that has come out. No editorials, no conspiracy theories, just the stuff that come out. Links are there. People, I guess, have screen captured it or what have you, or maybe they put it out. There's some more. I'm getting tired with this whole fake news stuff. I guess it's important to talk about it. They had to issue a correction for falsely claiming Putin does not deny having compromised. He did deny it. They put it out. CNN, NBC, all these people are bad. And here's the link. I'll put all these links out there. Facts about the London Bridge attack. Another thing about One American News. I was watching One American News for real live footage right there when it was happening, unfiltered. In fact, that people were forced to speculate, and they were saying, "Well, we don't speculate on air, but we don't understand. We have police changing clothes. We don't understand why, and so on." And that was great. That's real right there. They have I can't think of his name now. He's a reporter. He was live when they were having the riots down in North Carolina. He was right there reporting on it, right in the middle of it with the cameraman, and a guy next to him ends up getting killed, shot. That's real stuff, not the CNN and all this malarkey. Okay, I think we got to the last show. So I got the links. I'll put them all underneath here for all these things. It's Cernovich is another guy who's been coming up with stuff. Oh, this is the point about it. Putin does not deny having compromising information on President Trump in an interview with Megyn Kelly. Correction, Putin denies having compromised. There's the live interview. And they put this out there. So, I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. And I will deal with this stuff in a minute here when I go into what I want to talk about. I just want to read I put some things. This is a pretty cool picture of a thunderstorm. I put that up there too. I'll put it in the links down there. It's nice to have nice things to look at instead of all. But, you got to try to speak warnings. Now, I got a text from Ron Dolman, a longtime listener, and I've had him on the show many times. Does a lot of good health stuff. He mentioned before, did I be able to see this now? Let's see his message. Oh, he did this to somebody else. All right. The World Tribune is reporting 150 pedophile arrests have been made nationally since Trump took office. I wanted to mention this. I think it's actually higher than that. We'll just take that. There's been a lot of arrests since Trump took office. Now, actually, it happened prior to him being sworn in is when they started busting him. If you look at the various reports, and I've put them up here. I talked with a friend of mine who does not do any internet news. He voted for Hillary and the whole 9 yards. He was aware of some of these things. They are being reported. They're being reported in the newspaper, like Chicago Tribune, for example. Reached the newspaper as an article about it. It's not being reported on CNN or these as a headline, as a big deal, but it is getting out there. So people are hearing about this. What they're not putting together is these things were not happening a year ago. And as soon as Trump was elected, even though not sworn in, it started. Now, one might argue these are already in the process. Of course, they had information on there. It would appear that with Trump saying several times about how he was against thinking the pedophilia, that child trafficking is beyond description, beyond terrible. It would seem at that point. Oh, here we go again. Excuse me. It would seem that what is happening is from the top up, there's a green light for these things to continue and to grow. And Trump has said several times he's disgusted by it. He actually had people in talking about it. He was disgusted when he had talked about it afterwards. So I think it's important to look at these type of things. Let me see if I can find this quickly. The internet seems to be working just enough. World Tribune. I guess it is. Oh, would help if I spelled it right. Typing is bad. World, boy. There we go. There we go. We're going through. Let me switch back to the webpage. do something here. Oh, we're getting pop-ups. Search. What do I search under here? Well, let's just put pedophile, I guess. Yeah, here it is. I'll put these links again underneath. In fact, let me just... I'll throw it up on Facebook just so I remember it's there. Real time, huh? Real time live radio here. All right. So this started out, and I'm sure this has been people have been working on this, but then when Trump comes in, and so it is getting out, but it's not actually been this high, and it's because Trump is in office saying, yeah, and here's some stats. January 27th, 42 were arrested. January 29th, 474 were arrested. And 28 children were rescued. 178 people were arrested in Texas. February 14th, 42, and so on and so on. So it's very important to see that this stuff is going on. And frankly, this is the reason I personally have chosen to, when I think... This is where I personally have chosen why they hate Trump so much. Well, they hate him for a lot of reasons. They hate him for, he came in on left field, rich guy with money, walked into the presidency, where all these other people have been going for year and year trying to get their chance, putting in their time, as the mob would say. They made their bones, so to speak, to get the opportunity. People like McCain, I think, hate Trump terribly because of this, because he was almost there. And he might still been able to get there, but Trump came in there with his smart mouth and, won. So, but I do think that behind all of this, the most deep, dark secret is the satanic stuff going on, the rituals and whatnot, and pedophilia and child sacrifice, child torture, and all these things all combined. That's the deep, dark, dirty secret underneath everything that they will fight, and they'll go to a war, a world war, nuclear war before it comes out, because if it comes out, they'll just hang them, So that I think is important. Okay, so let me start going to my little talk. I hope this will work. I set this little thing up here to start it. Let's go to this. I was thinking about what to talk about on the show today, and what came to me was the line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. Oh, I went into detail about some stuff that happened in the last week, but my own personal assessment on this is, and I wrote this on YouTube a while back. I was made fun of by a friend who I've now blocked. Couldn't take any more of his propaganda and nasty. But I put a thing came to me. Now, if you want to call it some type of divine inspiration or just higher, or a thought came to me. I don't know, in my own head. But what came to me is that we're in a time of the revealing. The book of Revelations, for example, or the apocalypse, the word apocalypse is the Greek word, means the revealing, thus the book of Revelations is called Revelation. And Jesus, which is my main source of all this philosophy and theology, said that in the latter days, what was hidden will be shouted on the rooftops, which is in the inner room will be shouted on the rooftop, which is whispered will be shouted, which is hidden will be exposed, that type of deal. This is the time frame we're in. But with the revealing comes a time of redemption. When the revealing comes out, there's a chance for someone who had this hidden stuff, they can come out and they could have redemption. They could give it up. They could change. They can help the good guys, root out the bad guys. And I'm referring to the pedophilia and satanic stuff or whatever. There's a revealing that comes. And there is after revealing is a time of, it's judgment, but not in the classic sense of fire comes from heaven or whatever. The point is that all along there's been stuff going on, and if you ask me philosophically, what's the point of being alive on this planet? It is to make a choice that for the next evolutional step of humanity, spiritual or otherwise, you're going to be choosing between going into a predator-parasite paradigm, a piece there, alliteration, unplanned, where the people will be using one another to get what they want. The hell with you, I want what I want, and to be a fighting. Now, right now they have lambs or sheep or whatever you want to call it, to shear, the dupe, to try and get to follow their plans, to actually get stuff from them, or if nothing else, just to laugh as they use them and then throw them out like they use Kleenex. Also, the choice is to help one another achieve each other's goals, collectively work together or be nice to one another or whatever. Now, it's funny when you look at these two scenarios, you think like robbers, corrupt politicians, scam artists, and all these type of things. And you see people who are working together would be, volunteer workers to help feed the hungry or whatever. Well, those things are true. What is most important in the middle and most numeric in the middle, there's more of these people, are the people who don't even realize that this battle's going on. For example, if you want to say, I'm a salesman. Okay? I'm a salesman. How do you work with a customer? Do you try to find how you can meet their best needs in a most efficient manner, or you try to see how much money you can make off? There you go. Predator, parasite, working together and helping one another. See? When you start to draw these lines, it gets a little more dramatic. And so the guy who's made a lot of money as a salesman, he's not out beating people over their heads, stealing their gym shoes, or in a Ponzi scheme, or what have you. But they're running their business in such a way as to try and fleece the customer or get as much as they can of them, sell them the next level up instead of what they could use. And this is what's going on right now. And what's happening in the more dramatic sense is people are seeing what's going on. We're looking at the news media go, what the heck? They're being dumb and stupid. They're being obviously bad. They probably have always been doing this stuff underneath in various levels. I mean, I know they have. But now it's being revealed to them. It's being shown to the world that the people are lying. They have an agenda. They're on a particular political power bend and so forth. The politicians are coming out. You're seeing McCain going nuts. I can't think of her name right now. I'm looking at her James Brown wig. Maxine Waters, she's been in there how long? And she's saying things that are ridiculous. So these people are revealing themselves because their mindset is starting to go crazy because of this separation. A line is drawn and it's separating, and we are in a crevice. A crevice is widening, and it's getting to the point now where it is now people have pretty well chose They're pretty well chosen. And they're too far away that if I was to bring some logical arguments to them, they can't get over to where I'm at. And I definitely can't get over where they're at because it's so obvious to me, you know. And they may be looking at it and saying it's so obvious to them that I'm wrong. Whatever it is, I'm going to look at it and say they're delusional or illusional. They've been duped they've chosen to go with this. And it's not that they've been duped. Oh, I didn't know. You can hear from the visceral hate in the comments and the jabs and the nastiness. These people have made a choice. They've made a surface choice that we're seeing, plus that inner choice has been made. They're taking the negative, nasty road down. And it's not left and right, though it kind of is in some ways. But you look at McCain is on the quote right. So it's a point of parasite predator power versus helping one another, lifting each other up to get our goals, and we all get the goals. We all have our talents, and we all work together. Power, I use you for mine. This is the crevice that's widening. It's a Grand Canyon now. And I think we've reached past the point of being able to talk to one another and to convince one another. And when you see the data coming out on the Paris Accord and whatnot, and you see the visceral reaction to it and the name calling, talk to somebody on I'm going to call it left and right just for the hell of it. I mean, it's, you know, McCain would be on the neocon side, which is as well on the left. We'll say it from the predator parasite and the helping one another. The helpers and the hate murderers. I mean, that's what they're called, right? When you slide down that path, when you separate apart, you see that visceral hate. It's coming from a deep source. It's not a superficial thing. It's not someone who happens to swear a lot. It's somebody from deep inside coming out. Well, you know, I'm really sick of them damn Christians. Wasn't like that 5 years ago. Or whatever. And believe me, there's Christians who are on the same side as them. So don't draw the lines on some phrase or whatever. You got to draw the line on the actions, the precepts that they're acting on. Not the lips, actions. Same thing going on with these refugees. The lips are saying, well, you got to help these people. The actions are, they're going to go in and tear down the economic, social system. And if we're lucky, we'll get a few of them in there who can blow up some things and kill some people. So this is what's going on. And this is why we really, instead of expelling a lot of the energy in this vain attempt to help, it is the scorpion on the, the scorpion on the, what goes across the water? Frog? I don't know, whatever it is. This is what it is. Is people have made a choice. The lines are drawn and the curse is cast. And the curse, go back to that little thing here. The line is drawn. The line is drawn between parasites and predators and helpers, helping one another achieve their goals, right? The line is drawn. The curse is cast. When you've made that decision, what part of the curse is insanity, because you're living in a delusional world, and when delusion meets reality, the result is a cataclysmic awakening, which could be traumatic and cause insanity, or farther delusion, which means you go into insanity. So when you see people doing these things, you're going, I can't believe this is crazy. They're doing this stuff. Because they're going down that deluded path. And you don't have to be a Christian or a Jew or even a Muslim who's, we'll call it the nice kind. You don't have to be any particular denomination or religion to see this. You just have to be sane. I mean, if I understand right, Stefan Molyneux is at least an agnostic. He's not an atheist. He can see these things. It's not, you don't have to be smart, though intelligence should be able to have you see these things. You don't have to be spiritual, though spirituality will show you these things, if you follow the teachings from many things. And you don't have to be rich or poor. It doesn't matter. You see these things. In fact, Jesus talked about it's harder for a rich man. It's easier for a camel to go through an iron needle than a rich man in the kingdom of heaven, because there's a lot more distractions when it comes to rich. You can lose more. There's more distractions. You can get away with more, and so forth. This is the point I'm trying to make, is that it is a war. It is a war between sanity and insanity, between reality and a delusion or illusion. It's a war between power over people and the power of people. This is where we're at, and it's a chasm that's splitting, and it's dramatic, cataclysmic as it splits. And this is where I'm counting on angelic, godly help, in that the bad guys got pretty big guns. I mean, they got big bombs, and they got terrible electronic devices and all that stuff. So we have masses, and when billions of people fight this stuff, generally, even now with all this stuff, the billions can win, I think. But this is where I think we have to go into ourselves and find that connection with God and get solace, advice, and comfort to come into the because when people depend on the physical alone, well, these verses come to mind. Man cannot live by bread alone, but every word that comes out of God's mouth. You have this ability with a spiritual base of love and God. You have this ability to be able to figure out stuff, to feel out stuff, to get the right. No, I don't know. I think I'm going to go there tomorrow instead of today, and then all of a sudden the place blows up or whatever. That kind of stuff you can't get, especially in a delusional world. I mean, even in a smart intellectual world, you're talking about information coming from within. Jesus talked about you don't look over here for kingdom of God, or don't go out here in the wilderness for kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is here, and I think he pointed within. So the idea is we look inside to find God. God is there waiting for us to go. I'm glad you asked me, because God. That's why people say, well, God should come down. I don't believe in God, because God should come down and kick butt. Well, I mean, I would imagine eventually there's some safeguards built into creation to kick butt. Something, doesn't change. But the point is God is not wanting us. He's not wanting to beat us like a bigger power. I got a bigger bat, so I'm going to be the big cheese here. God wants us to pick the right way because it's the right way, so we can walk with God rather than be beaten by God, and so forth. So this is where I think we're happening here. The world's been around for a long time. A lot of people have suffered and died and learned and whatnot. And the people who have died for the sake of righteousness cries out to Jesus and says, hey, what's the deal? And he goes, here, put on these white robes and wait. The time of the world is not there yet. There's a point where it's coming to that point where everyone has made their decisions and actually acted on them to confirm it. It's one thing to say you're going to do it. It's another parable comes to mind when Jesus says, one son, father goes to one son and says, hey, could you work in the field? He goes, no, I'm not going to do it. He goes away. Another son, he goes to it and he says, could you work in the field? Yeah, okay, I'll go do it. And then he doesn't go. Later on, the other son goes, well, I should go work in the field. So he goes work in the field. And the question is, which one did their father's will? And how this applies to what I'm saying here is that the person who has the heart to do it and does it goes out and tries. Action. Not words, but action. You have the principle, action. Not just words. And this is what's happening now. Look, you're going to look around. Everybody around you is going to have to take action doing something. They're going to have to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And look at Trump as an example. Not perfect. I'm unhappy what's going on in Syria. I'm unhappy with what's going on with Saudi Arabia. I don't understand it. Maybe there's something going on in the background. I don't know. not happy about it. But at this point, we're in this point, and Trump put his money where his mouth is, stepped off his billion-dollar pedestal, and is getting kicked around and called names, and it's just everyone is disgusted on that side with him. They hate him. They hate him with a hate that's like nobody's been hated like that I can think of. So it almost is like that Trump is one of the two witnesses talked about in Revelations 11. I'm not a big Revelations guy, but here I am in Revelations, right? It sounds like because they hated him, and when he was killed, as it says in there, or whatever, however metaphorically it is, they were so happy they gave gifts to one another and partied. But then he came back, and they were filled with fear. So I don't know if this is playing before us, and I don't know how it will work out. But I tell you, it gets me thinking. And I'm not saying he's a saint, because there's none of the saints were saints. They were human sinners like the rest of us, but they had a certain quality in a love for God and or humanity, or that made them that quote saint. And over the years, they were whitewashed. So that's the line that came to me today. The line it is drawn. The curse it is cast. The curse is going to be insanity, delusion, evil, and they'll be falling down into that because their hate will blind them. And it will blind them, meaning like somebody sticks a stick in your eye. It blinds you. You can't see, and then you just fall down. The blind leading the blind leads him in the ditch, and that's what's happening.
Hello, good day, greetings, and whatever assists in a welcoming environment. For those of you coming here, welcome to Dog Poet Transmitting, which is also the outpost, a consulate for the Arcturian Brotherhood and the Sirius Cluster. Here in our immeasurably tiny portion of the universe. We're feeling ever so much better here at Dog Poet Transmitting, and we thank you for your prayers, communications, and support, which have been many and which have surprised us, as a matter of fact. We're sorry that the blogs are still in some unreachable hyperspace, and we have no way of knowing when the situation will be rectified, return to something resembling what it once was, which we now hardly even remember anymore. Very strange things are going on outside of the reach of my visible and audible bandwidth. I'm told repeatedly over and over again by the ineffable, rely on me, rely on me. And that's what I'm doing. I have the impression there are individuals working on bringing the blogging commentaries back into reach, but that is the literal extent of everything that I presently know. For the moment, you have these Feet to the Fire broadcasts and whatever I can put together here at Schmuckerberg Enterprises. We are noting a much larger number of individuals registering at the blog site here at Schmuckerberg. And, over 50 or more this time, indicating that they have read it, and somehow by word of mouth or by pure intuitive facility, people are knowing that this is the temporary point from which you get whatever it is that I'm doing, and I won't know what that is until I do it. Maybe it all has something to do with my moving to the desert. This has been a very strange and wonderful move for me. This is the best place I've ever been. And it's only like 88 degrees today, which is incredible when it's often 110 or more during this time of the year. And most everyone leaves, so it becomes like this remarkable ghost town. And, well, I love the dry climate. There's no humidity. And every time I change my location, everything changes for me. I change as a person. I come up against different things I didn't come up against before. I become somebody unknown to myself until I rediscover who that is. It has some strange thing to do with this Kundalini experience that took place years ago. But whenever I wind up in a different locale, we're dealing with a different individual, you know, more or less, I guess I seem to be the same guy, but I'm not. This is, as I said, the best place that I've been. And I'm now much closer to a great many readers in California, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, you know, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Idaho, I don't know. And I'm looking forward to seeing some number of you, and I expect that will happen if you're so obliged to want to come and see me, or if you should happen to be on a route where I'm looking to be passing through. I'm feeling remarkably better at the moment, and I wanted to discuss that for a moment. Not so that I can talk about my personal existence, which is of no real importance, you know, except when I'm lucky and successful enough to be of service. But more because many of you may be in a similar condition. My situation has not been about physical things so much. I have some aches and such, of course, and it isn't really that. It's been this emotional thing that I really don't quite understand it. The ineffable has told me that I'm coming up upon one of the major transitions in my existence, and that I'm going to be fundamentally changed, and I'm not going to be prepared for it. He says, try as best you can, but you won't be able to. It's going to be startling. But here's an interesting thing, and I bring it up because it very much applies to me, and I know it applies to some of you. There's excitement and there's fear. You get on a roller coaster. Some of you get scared witless by this experience, and it makes me wonder why you even go. Peer pressure, I don't know. But then the rest of you just get thrilled and excited or whatever. Same thing walking through the jungle or out in the wilds or experimenting with unusual substances. I always generally get excited. I almost never get fearful. For years and years and years, I have worked to master this thing called fear, and that I have attempted to accomplish through love, because I truly believe love and fear cannot occupy the same same space at the same time. It can't be done. They naturally displace each other. And so that has been the case for me, and I am more excited than I am anything else. Now, one thing, as I say, has to do with this personal transformation that I'm apparently on the verge of, and which I was told last night is a lot closer than I think. So I'm feeling a lot, very unsettled about all of this, just the not knowing, you know, as if not knowing were not a fundamental part of my being already. And then there's the thing with the world. There's a cabal of individuals out there right now, and you can see it all the time, who are actively trying to destroy whatever good may be seeking to come. And believe me, plenty is trying to come right now. There are breakthroughs going on in places right now, spiritually, technologically, and on other levels that we are unaware of. And they're going to be powerfully transformative indeed. As I mentioned, some fellow named Obergon or something like that told me I was vaping myself out of existence, which I was actually kind of thought, boy, that would be a good thing. But as you can see, I am still here relatively, unless this is just some facsimile, you know. Some people think that I've been replaced by something. I'm not sure what that is, or might be. But in any case, I'll go into more detail about a lot of this in the upcoming Facebook posting, which I hope to do today. And I'll discuss more in detail what I believe are some of the unfortunate conditions that presently exist in the culture and around the world that are very much assisting and some of the crazinesses and stupidities that are attempting to come to pass. Meanwhile, my blogs, as I say, are just out there somewhere, and I don't really know what's going on. I'm not annoyed about this or upset in any way. There are people who are helping me, and they're helping me out of the goodness of their heart. And for this, I'm very grateful. I especially want to thank Margaret Smith of Abundant Hope, Mark Wilson also, who is from there, and this lovely lady, Sonia, who I believe is from Pakistan. I never heard of her before, but I hear nothing but marvelous things about her. And just even that I have her support, even invisibly, seems to me to be very important. Eric Wees, who's always been there, willing to help in the background. And of course, the elf, who has tirelessly devoted himself to doing as well as he can under the circumstances. But it all kind of just got away from us, and I don't know what we could actually do about much of it now, except try to leave it in the hands of the people who know better than I what to do. One of the things I notice is that challenges, trials, confusion, all the things that come around in life, these affect friendships. But real friendships are not affected negatively in these regards, and if so, only temporarily. What they do is they make these friendships stronger, or else they're not friendships at all. And that's something that we really need to realize. A lot of us are running around, unless friendship can survive, all of these conditions. As I say, it's not friendship. But there are a lot of people running around who think they've got all kinds of friends. This is what they tell themselves. And real friends are not easy to come by. And real friendships don't end or die. They strengthen and endure. Many superficial butterfly types like to tell themselves lies and gaze into that less than mystical narcissistic pool of selfies and see Facebook and other social media as half masturbation tub and half strip club. Some of the friends requests that I used to get made me break into peals of laughter. In fact, I had to go back through my whole friends list and clear it out because I was going to okaying people without even thinking. So I wound up with like a dozen of these sites with these women with hardly any clothes on. I don't know exactly what their story was. They're gone. You're only allowed to have 5,000 friends anyway on Facebook, and I still get requests from people with 5,000 friends, as if somehow Facebook's going to give them one more friend. And interestingly enough, back when they used to do likes, or it was something like that, the person who had the most ever was Kim Kardashian. She had something like 30 million. Now, how can you trust a world or have that much faith in a world where someone like Kim Kardashian is paid any attention to at all? I mean, it is a strange affair, but all of this is being manipulated by certain forces that make all these phenomena far more powerful than they are in actuality. Well, my very good friends, I cannot tell you how much better I feel these days, and I think you can see that. And I know I got something that's coming up that's really going to change my life, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to handle it or what I'm going to do about it. But I'm going to do what the Almighty God has been telling me from the very beginning. Rely on me. He says it over and over and over and over. In the morning when I lay there and I awaken and I'm telling God when I can remember how much and how deeply I love him. Or at night, of course, when I lay there for an hour or longer and going through a series of routines of sensing the presence and dwelling in the presence and seeking to become the presence, really, so that I don't know where I begin or God leaves off or the other way around. And that is, of course, the goal that we're after. Well, for years now, I've had the support of many of you, and for that, I am extremely grateful. Let me tell you here and now how thankful I am for your friendship and for the efforts that some of you have made to keep me in business and to help me out. Don't think that this has got by me for an instant, and I've always tried to make it a point to let you know how appreciative I have been. And that said, I want to bring up one of our readers now who's been coming around for a very long time, especially Facebook, Bill Calibas. Now, Bill Calibas is a remarkable fellow who has been through some tremendous struggles, which I don't believe I need to go into, and he has probably gone into them on his own spaces. And he's now struggling with cancer. Well, we both know, all of us know, that faith and prayer are far stronger than cancer or anything else like it. And I would like to personally ask each of you, if you get a moment, if you can find a moment, to say a prayer for our dear friend Bill Calibas and ask the ineffable to bring some healing, light, and love into his life. And he's been a great supporter through the years of the blogs and always had something very wise and good to say. And you just can tell reading when he speaks what a fundamentally good guy he is. But this is the thing with life, my friends. It's a temporary adventure. But for those of us who have lived well, you know, the ineffable is waiting for us in one of these like ethereal amusement park theme parks that he's put together. And I hope very much to see all of you there at some point in the not distant future. All right, my friends, it appears that we have come to the end of yet another broadcast, and I'll see you next week, if there is one. In the meantime, if you've been getting hammered like I have by unknown forces from Negative Town, just turn it over. Give it to the ineffable and rely upon the ineffable to guide and help you through it. Nothing is impossible for the ineffable, as he constantly keeps telling me, and I'm sure for good reason. Base your life on it. We're just here for a while, and then, well, I'll be looking to see you in that other land, my friends. In the meantime, that said, Hail Lord Jesus Christ, Michimambu, Guru Baba, Hare Krishna, Alhamdulillah, Om Amitabha. Greetings, my dear friend Lord Ganesh. Much, much love, Lady Nature. Carry on, Baha'u'llah, aloha, and God bless you one and all.